Hello, this is Angie. I am on the board of the Legacy Business League, and I'm here with Miss Alitra Perryman, who is the chair of the Coast Wide MLK Committee. And today we are celebrating Martin Luther King Jr.'s birthday. It's a national holiday, as many of you know, and we did not want the day to go by without bringing acknowledgement to the wonderful work that this committee does throughout the year to really prepare for the holiday. I'm just so glad that Alitra's able to join us today and to give us a little bit of background about what motivates her and to talk about the events that have actually gone on this past week, but you're going to be able to view it on the Facebook page and some other places, and we'll talk about that in just a little bit. Welcome, Alitra. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Angie.
So again, it's just very informal. We just want to talk a little bit about some of the wonderful initiatives that happen throughout the year to bring some insightful and engaging content to the community. Will you tell us a little bit about this committee and how it got started, how long it's been around, and so on?
Yes. So the committee started in the 80s with Dr. Mason and some local activists that wanted to celebrate Dr. King's birthday. They started the committee right after Dr. King's birthday became a federal holiday. They knew the importance of an African-American icon having his birthday as a federal holiday. So they set up this committee to have this celebration annually. And the original name of it is something like Coastwide, the Committee for the Coastwide Dr. Martin Luther King Birthday Celebration. So at the bank, it's like, what is that? Right. So they wanted to include everything and make sure that everyone was inspired and knew that this was about Dr. King.
And how has it evolved? Because it used to be at Lee Stadium, right? And the Battle of the Bands was kind of the central entertainment piece of it, but it's really evolved to bring information about, education, youth, topics geared toward men, women specifically. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes. So the early days of the celebration, the parade was it still is a huge part of the celebration, but a parade, and there were some events, some prayer breakfast type of events, and highlighting HBCU bands at local stadiums for the Battle of the Bands. So over the years that grew and shrank. One year it included a fair at Lee Stadium. Over the years, the funding for the Battle of the Bands changed too. So things had to change. After Dr. Mason was the chair, Mr. Crowell was the chair for many, many years. And then he and Dr. Sharon Dixon worked as co-chairs one year. And that year, Dr. Dixon expanded the programming to add When Women Talk, which was a forum exclusively for women. She wanted to add a man-to-man summit that year, but it didn't happen that year. It happened the next year. And she added the youth summit. That was 7 years ago. Oh, wow. And we have used like a hybrid of every former chair's desires to create the programming that you see today.
And this year, it was even more important than ever to get together and make sure that we honored his legacy. But it obviously had to morph into something that accommodated the COVID-19 pandemic. Will you tell us a little bit about the decisions that went into how you presented it this year? And
yes,
what ultimately occurred?
So the committee meets starting in the summer prior to MLK to start planning, to select the theme. And we were just sure that we were going to be able to have a parade in downtown Biloxi, down Division Street to the stadium, and we could do it in a way that was safe. But as we got further into 2020, into the fall, we realized that it just wasn't possible with COVID. So we had to change. We had to pivot pretty quickly to a virtual platform. So we did not want to just say, let's skip 2021 in light of all of the things that happened in 2020, all of the demands for social justice. So we went virtual.
Mm-hmm. And it's actually gone off pretty well as far as I can see. I know that we started off with the healthcare panel. got some great engagement, and particularly afterwards. What I'm seeing is that the momentum occurs afterwards. In the event, people don't tune in necessarily while it's going live, that a lot of people are able to go back and view it. So you were able to maintain the integrity of these conversations and to still bring engaging information. So what's next? Let's see. So this is going to be dated because we're airing this on Dr. King's the holiday, that Monday. Where can people view it other than the Facebook page?
So people can view all of the panels on YouTube, on the Coastwide MLK YouTube page, and you can view it on our Facebook page. You could also view it on our website, but probably not until Tuesday. So there's just a little process that goes into that we haven't done yet.
Now, you talked a little bit about why it was important because of the social injustice that happened in 2020 and probably even years prior to that, but it was even as important to do it for this year. Tell me about the theme activism and action and how each one of these initiatives that were organized this year centered around that theme.
Okay, so in 2020, around February and March, we were all just told to stay home. And in the middle of staying home, we watched African-American people killed on camera. Ahmaud Arbery, George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, and people were upset, and rightfully so, and wanted a way to speak their voice, speak their truth, express themselves. And we decided to take that energy of activism and show people how to put that in action and put it into a productive form so that their true voices can be heard and understood by others. So we incorporated our theme and relevant topics into our big buckets of things. We usually have a health fair at the same time as the youth summit and the man-to-man and when women talk. So we knew it was important with COVID that we couldn't exclude the health fair. So we put health on the front end of the schedule. We jumped out the door with your panel on health and COVID and what it means to the African-American community and the vaccine that we're all so apprehensive about what it is. And that was a fantastic panel and it's received some of the best feedback. And then we went into our regular programming with When Women Talk, the Man-to-Man Summit, the Youth Summit, and we tried to keep everything pretty short to keep people's attention, and we won't take up your whole day. Today, well, on Sunday, we had the Gospel Inspirational, well, the Sunday Inspirational, because it included songs from the movement as well as some gospel hits. On MLK Day, we will acknowledge community leaders, 3 in each county, and present them virtually with an award. And on Tuesday, which is the National Day of Racial Healing, we'll have a panel on economics and the impact that race has on economics. We want to build wealth in our community and talk about that wealth gap.
So 2 more questions for you. You've talked about the Youth Summit. Why do you feel it's important? I mean, I know it's obvious that we need to keep them engaged, but it's such a great part of this entire initiative. Why is it important to you to keep that youth panel going? And what did you see, energy did you see when you had it this year?
So I'm in my late 40s. So I was a child when Dr. King's holiday was becoming a holiday. So knowing of Dr. King's activism and his work was part of my growing up. And as time goes on, that is almost in the rearview mirror. And we have children who don't know Dr. King's work. So every year we have to re-engage our youth and let them know of all of those shoulders that they stand on. It's always inspiring to see the kids say, oh, I didn't know that. And we also tell them about local activists too. We talk about Dr. Mason, we talk about Dr. Dunn, we talk about the organizations that are right here that a 12-year-old just may not know about. So it's really inspiring every year.
Well, and what inspires you to keep this going?
So I was a little girl who grew up in East Biloxi, going to Lee Stadium for the Battle of the Bands and hanging out with my friends. And those were good days and great memories. And and I know the value of that now. So I want to make sure that everyone has that same experience.
And I think that that's wonderful. And I love the fact that you continue to try to make sure that it is truly a coast-wide celebration, that you engage Jackson County, Harrison County, and just like you mentioned, and of course, obviously here, Hancock, Harrison, Jackson, tonight, or when we don't date it, when you go back to look at the community leaders, you made sure to engage those leaders and award them too. So I think that's, even though people were invited to come to East Biloxi before, that there's been a concerted effort to engage individuals to make sure that we are placing celebrations inside those counties and that people from those counties are being recognized. So thank you for continuing that work, and the work of Dr. Mason, of course. I'm very pleased and happy and inspired that you do that. So, I'm just happy that you were able to hop on a call. I think what you do is wonderful. I think the Coastwide Committee. Thank you to all the members. I know that you have some great support, some people who've been involved for many years. And again, we just didn't want to go by without people knowing that this is going on. Sometimes you may miss it, and we want to make sure that you tune in to, I think it's Coastwide MLK Committee or Facebook page, and they have a YouTube page as well at Coastwide MLK.
Yes, and MLK Coastwide for the for the YouTube. Let me make sure.
Okay, right. And that there is a website. So please ensure that you continue to stay engaged. And this is just one of the ways that we can continue the legacy of great leaders that went before us. And I appreciate you, Alicia, for hopping on a Legacy Talks to tell us a little bit about it. And
thank you.
And I hope that we'll hear from you again soon, because we have some great partnerships that we're going to be working on together.
Yes.
All right. Thank you. You have a great day.
You too.